Oh man, okay. I think I got him in the right spot. There we go, that's good. Okay. Now, what do you guys think of this? I mean, I think it's, I don't mean to like hype myself up, but it's pretty good looking. I'm not gonna lie, I think I did a great job here. Feels so good to have this sweet pose. Can't wait to show people.
That is literally the worst pose I have ever seen. Dude, you call that a pose? Whoever put this dude on the influencer list for the INART Batman needs to be fired.
Oh, brother, these poses stink! Do or do not. But you? Try, you should not.
This is good. This looks good. You know what? Fine. It's time to do some poses, quick tips, and showcasing the glory of this INART the Batman figure. Let's get into it. Alright everyone, I don't want to waste any time, but before we get into the poses and tips, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you did enjoy the video, because it really does help the channel grow. I spent a lot of time on these poses, and I greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, let's showcase this grail. Alright, for pose number 1, we're going pretty basic here, and I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I do feel like I can work with the legs more, but I love the way you can maneuver the cape to kind of manipulate it in your own way. That's what's so great about wired capes. However, I do wish that INART included a drape cape option, because it's really unfortunate when you want to have them just standing up and down, because you really have to work hard with the back of the cape because it has all of those strong wires. But as I mentioned before, you can have it swaying to the left, to the right, you can have it going crazy like this here, and it just really adds a heightened sense of uniqueness in a way, because that cape can be moved in any type of way, to be honest. It's an extremely strong wired cape. And if you couldn't see, I am using that kind of half open mouth look, kind of to show that he's kind of snarling at someone, getting ready to just kick some ass, and I'm really happy with it. Pattinson definitely wants all of the smoke. Now let's move to something maybe a little bit more punchy. Boom! And there it is. Pattinson taken out one of the Riddler goons. I think this is really cool, and this is the third-party Conundrum Man, which is a great companion with your Batman figure, since the design works for both the Riddler and his goons. Since the design just didn't want to change, you can do a lot here, and I'm pretty happy with how this looks as well. As you can see, I'm using my own type of flight pole to get this pose done. All I had to do was just dig through my 1000 Spider-Man bases and got this pose finished. But yeah, the realism here is pretty fire, and I'm happy with this. But let's move on to the next pose. Dare I say, this may be my favorite pose in the entire video, but we're gonna find out a little later. But I think this is extremely badass, very clean and museum looking. That's the one thing about this movie, is that Batman 90% of the time is just walking and being a badass detective. So there's not like 1,000 pose options, but for character and museum posers, you can have a damn good time with this figure, and it poses very well. Look at the way everything is sitting. It looks very flush and just very accurate. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of the proportions, but as I have it in person, I don't really notice all this stuff where it looks out of proportion and he looks too like superhero-like. Like, I don't know. To me, it looks pretty fairly accurate, maybe not perfect, but I'm happy with it. I think everybody knows my thoughts on the 1.6 flashlight, because that accessory is so good. I am telling you, it is so good, and I can't wait for people to get this. I also wanted to give another tip. A lot of the stuff on his utility belt will ride up and can even fall if you're posing it in an extreme pose. Just make sure everything's sitting flushly once you have the pose set, because you may not notice, because a lot of the times when I was filming, I was like, shit, this belt is kind of crooked here. This little gadget, that little grenade on his left is kind of sideways, and I ended up fixing it for the video. But like I said, make sure to keep an eye on all the minute details. And I have another huge tip that I'm going to dive into right now, and it's very important. So, when you first get this figure in hand, you do have to assemble a lot of things, and the one thing I want to give a big tip on is the cape assembly, because you have to make sure you're putting it on flushly and accurately. As you can see right here, I took the chest piece off already, and I have the cape set where I want it. But I do want to show how to get it done for people who are going to be getting this in hand, and if anyone actually has it already. The problem that I've been seeing is when people assemble the capes, which I'm showing right here, they're not riding it low enough to the middle of the chest plate. This allows the cape to have a lot of breathing room, which makes it ride up kind of high, which is not accurate to the film. Given I am a die-hard Pattinson fan, all these little minute details are stuff that I catch right away. Maybe other people won't care as much about it, but for me, I want to have the most accurate looking figure on my shelf. So pushing it all the way down to the bottom, which I just showed here, and flushing out the cape to make it look more straight and obviously accurate, putting back on the chest piece, and just like that, you are good to go. And you can see the differences when I didn't have it to where I did have it on securely. So as you can see, this makes a night and day difference, and honestly feel this is a necessity to get done because it's an important feature on the Batsuit. But after putting the chest piece on, you can grab the cape itself, kind of flush it more down if you really want to, and yeah, just get the job done. Now let's move on to a more dynamic pose with the Batman. Alright, be real. How many people are scared shitless right now? Because this pose is risky. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. It's on the pole, but I think this is really cool. It's kind of my interpretation of him maybe jumping out of a building and throwing a batarang, of course. Something that I'm willing to bet Batman has done, but we just didn't see in the film. I think I channeled a bit of my Spidey love with this pose because it is very dynamic looking. And like I said, these INART bodies are custom made and they work a damn treat. I truly believe this is the most posable Batman figure ever. I've never had another 6-scale figure of Batman that has so much range of articulation. I know for a fact there's a lot of people who don't buy 6-scale figures because of that limitation, but let me let you know now, with INART bodies, you can do insane poses. Every single one of their figure releases, I don't think anyone has complained with articulation on these bodies. But now that we're on the subject, INART, why did you not include a dynamic flight pole? This cape can do unspeakable things, and the fact that you're limited with just a regular base with no pole is a little unfortunate. But as you can see right here, we're going back to basics, and this is a pretty just simple, easy to go pose that you want to do with your Batman. He had like, I believe 1,000 cards to read from the Riddler, it felt like, so you can do a lot of fun stuff with these accessories. Another tip with the cape, a lot of people have complained that it is wired and not draped, but as you can see, even if it is wired, it just takes time to get it done, but you can fill out that kind of draped display. But I will say, it does take time, and it gets a little annoying having to deal with all the wires. Yet again, would have been nice to include an extra drape cape here. This is actually another one of my favorites I did in the video. It's really annoying because when you do these posing videos, you want to keep it like this forever, but I had to do more poses, so I had to change them. But it is what it is at the end of the day. Hit that like button because y'all just made me get rid of all of this goodness. It's really nice to have card holding hands so you can easily get your figure set like this, but I will say the hand selection on this figure is not too ideal. You don't get a lot of pairs, and a lot of it is based on the right hand. I'll probably make a video pinpointing what I dislike about this figure, but it's still absolutely amazing. To wrap this pose in a bow, let's look at what's inside and what the Riddler had in store for the Batman. You know, now that we're on the subject of Riddler cards, let's just keep the ball rolling and move on to this pose, which is kind of showing that he's pointing, looking into what is being said on or written on the card, my mistake. But I'm not sure if you can tell, but the left hand I'm using isn't a card holding hand. Like I mentioned, they didn't give you a pair, which is a little annoying because you have other hands for the right that would make sense to have it for the left, but they just didn't have it included. Regardless, you can see the card here is being focused on, and it's really nice. You know, I mentioned in my official review that I wasn't as crazy about the other mouth plates, but dare I say it, They are both growing on me tremendously. And right here, I was trying to replicate the scene where he was hanging on the rope and he had to tear down the electrical wire to save pretty much the Gotham Stadium. So yeah, I think it looked pretty cool. It doesn't obviously have his same scream that he has, which is pretty memeable, honestly, but yeah, it's a nice, just simple pose again that is more just representing the movie still. Boom, another tip. Let's get into the actual head articulation. I will say, when you pose this thing and have his head completely up, the neck may look a little narrow and a little too long. My personal preference when I'm posing this, tilt the head forward on both ends, the neck adapter and the head itself. Tilt it forward, and honestly, I think it looks like 5 times better like this. Put the eyes upward, just have his head tilted down, and it just screams Pattinson to me. Now having and posing the figure for quite some time, I do wish the head was magnetically attached like the Hot Toys, but that's a topic for another video. Now we're back with another kind of basic museum pose. I do like using the batarangs he has. They have just such a unique design that is pivotal to the character, and yeah, INART spared no expense when it came to details on it because it looks great and they are die cast. I was trying to resemble the scene in the Iceberg Lounge when he was just ruthless, running down the entire club. That was just such a sick scene and I absolutely loved it. I was having trouble perfecting this one and I still don't think it's perfect, but it'll suffice. I think it looks pretty cool and just screams Batman. Talking about the figure again, the paint apps on the silver around the gauntlets just pop. I just really love the amount of detail that's put into this suit. Really next level stuff, so I commend you, INART, for that one. Now let me tell you, this was a bitch to balance. This pose is pretty cool. I like the way the cape's laying, but like I said, the way he's hunched over and the legs are spread out, it was very hard to make sure this didn't fall in. I believe it was leaning and falling at times and I had to save it, but overall, I think it was pretty worth it. I like this one a lot. It's a nice way of showing how nice that wired cape is and what you can do with it. It adds such a bigger range of presence, in my opinion. Yet again, using that fierce, angry sculpt, which again is growing on me the more I have it. It was my least favorite before, but I actually like them all. They're pretty good, and it's just all about angles with this figure, as you can see. And even right here, this is showing that fierceness to the max, because he just about gave this Riddler goon a clean left hook to the face. And yeah, you can see the glasses. I was trying to make it look like it was kind of falling. I obviously couldn't magically have it flying, so it's just in his hood. And I think it turned out pretty well. I'm happy with this as well. You can even see how high I was able to move that left arm. Even with these shoulder blades, you can take them off since they are Velcro attached, which allows you to easily move these arms to full extension. But speaking of the arms, let's move on to the hand attachments. So another neat little hack that I found out is that you can take off the gauntlets and put the actual hands in the gauntlets before pegging it all in together. And it's gonna save you the headache, trust me. Getting specific hands in the wrist peg while it's hitting that gauntlet is really annoying, so doing it before saved a lot of headaches for me. And this will help you big time when you're switching out hands very frequently. Yet another thing that people, even myself, didn't notice, make sure the gauntlet is pushed all the way forward so the hand doesn't look too long. If that makes sense. You can play it back if anything, but yeah. Now I don't care what anybody says, this is how you showcase a wired cape. And INART, as I said before, we really needed a dynamic flight pole, do something, maybe an accessory set in the future, because you gotta have the Cape Crusader showcasing one of the most important things about him. And the fact that it is wired, it gives you an even bigger opportunity to make this stand apart when he's flying or gliding, whatever you want to call it. But I know I keep saying it, this may be the best one in my posing one. Maybe, I don't know. Let me know in the comments which is your favorite pose that you've seen, because this one is definitely top 3, has to be. Top 3 candidate, we'll say that. Now, since it is the Batman, you know I had to include a grapple pose, and this is pretty cool. Just wanted to showcase him sort of running off, getting ready to shoot it, or as he's shooting it. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. It was very simple, pretty easy to get done. And now we're moving on to another dynamic. You know, I've been loving that flight pole. Him maybe jumping off forward, getting ready to use it as well. showing kind of two different ranges to it. You can have him on the ground running and also him kind of just gliding off or jumping off forward. Just doing what he does best, looking badass in Gotham City. Now here's a couple more close-in shots. I know a lot of them have been kind of full body poses, but also looking at the details of the sculpt is equally as important. It's just a really nice set, and again, the mouth plate, the open, half open one is kind of nice. I like it. I've been liking it a lot as well. Another equally as important thing when you're setting this figure up or posing is the eye movement. I feel like a lot of people, maybe it's because when people have issues putting it on, it makes the eyes crooked. Make sure the eyes, both sets of them, are looking in the same direction because it's going to make your figure look a little derpy. Just make sure when you're actually posing it, it is set correctly, because here you obviously want the eyes positioned upwards to where he's shooting his grapple. To conclude this video on the final pose, we have him on none other than the Jazz Inc. Batmobile, kind of swaying off the car, getting ready to throw another batarang, and I think it looks really cool. Obviously not perfect, but I tried my best here. You can also see I'm cheekily trying to hide that Spider-Man base because it's red, and obviously it doesn't match the tone of the movie. Again, do hope INART will look into dynamic flight pulls in future releases, but we have seen like the Superman. But right here, you can see I have the car lit up in timely fashion. Again, this is easily the best Batman figure we've gotten in 6 scale and the most articulatable, because is that a word? Articulatable? I don't know. Anyways, this figure articulates. That's your answer. And having said that, this figure again is not perfect, but in my eyes, I haven't seen a 6 scale Batman yet that has gotten to this level of detail and articulation. But having said that, I really hope you found some knowledge in this video and enjoyed the poses I did show. Again, it did take some time, but yeah, I wanted to showcase this. Also give you guys some helpful tips for when you get this figure in hand. But having said that, thank y'all for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. Drop all your thoughts in the comments below. And we'll catch you in the next one. I'm vengeance.